Starfleet scientists watched in horror as a human ripped apart a void titan by hand. Enhanced beyond recognition, Jack Turner surrendered to his modifications as dormant systems activated throughout his body. Eyes glowing with unearthly blue light, he plunged into the cosmic horror's core, tearing it asunder with a primal roar that transcended humanity. In that moment, Project Titan fulfilled its purpose, creating the perfect weapon against the void. The obsidian viewport of Starfleet Research Station Aurora 7 framed the micro-black hole like a malevolent eye staring back at humanity's hubris. Commander Jack Turner watched the swirling cosmic anomaly, its gravitational pull distorting the very fabric of space-time around it. The year was 2387, and mankind's reach had extended far beyond what previous generations could have imagined possible. Yet with each new frontier came new terrors. "Subject ready for preliminary examination," announced the sterile voice of the station's AI. Jack didn't turn immediately. His reflection in the reinforced glass showed a man hardened by years of service, prominent cheekbones, a strong jawline now covered with 3 days' worth of stubble, and eyes that had witnessed too much. The former Starfleet officer's muscular frame filled out the specialized containment suit designed to monitor his vitals during the upcoming experiment. "Acknowledged," he replied, finally turning away from the cosmic abyss. The corridors of Aurora 7 gleamed with cold, metallic efficiency, polished floors reflecting the blue-white emergency lighting that had become standard operating procedure whenever they approached the anomaly. Jack's footsteps echoed as he made his way to Laboratory Sector 17, where Project Titan awaited. The laboratory doors parted with a pneumatic hiss. Inside, a team of scientists moved with practiced precision, their white lab coats stark against the dark metal interior. At the center stood Dr. Sophia Kim, her face a mask of professional detachment as she monitored readings from multiple holographic displays. As head scientist of Project Titan, Dr. Kim carried the weight of Starfleet's expectations and funding on her shoulders. "Turner," she said without looking up, "your cortisol levels are elevated. Did you sleep last night?" Jack forced a smile. "Sleep is overrated, Doctor. Let's just get this over with." Dr. Kim's eyes narrowed slightly. "This isn't some routine training exercise, Turner. Today we're bringing in the first organic sample from the void. The brass at Starfleet Command has been waiting 3 years for this moment. And I've been their lab rat for 2 of those years," Jack replied, stepping onto the examination platform. The metal felt cold beneath his bare feet as medical sensors automatically adjusted to his presence. "What makes today different?" Dr. Kim finally met his gaze. She was younger than most department heads, barely 40, but her eyes carried the intensity of someone who had sacrificed everything for her work. "Today, we find out if all those enhancements we've pumped into your system actually serve a purpose. The void doesn't play by our physics. We need a human counterbalance." Jack would have laughed if the situation weren't so dire. Human counterbalance. As if his modified body could somehow represent the entirety of humanity against whatever lurked beyond that cosmic tier. The memory of Buran flashed in his mind, the colonists' screams, the smell of burning flesh, his own hands covered in blood as he tried futilely to save those who'd trusted him to protect them. 47 civilians lost because he'd failed, because he'd been merely human. "Initiating sample transfer," announced Lieutenant Sora Patel from her station at the security console. The young engineer's fingers moved with lightning precision across the holographic interface. Unlike the scientists who viewed Jack as an experiment, Patel treated him with the respect of a fellow officer. Containment fields at maximum, life support systems on independent backup. The center of the laboratory hummed as a cylindrical chamber rose from the floor. Its walls, nearly a meter thick, consisted of transparent aluminum and force field matrices designed to contain the uncontainable. Inside, a swirling darkness began to materialize, as if the very absence of matter had taken physical form. "Void Titan sample stabilizing," Dr. Kim announced, her voice betraying the faintest tremor of excitement. Mass approximately 4.7 kilograms. Negative energy signature consistent with predictions. Captain Ramon Voss entered the laboratory, his commanding presence drawing the attention of the research team. The station commander's weathered face bore the distinguished lines of 3 decades in Starfleet service. "Dr. Kim, I've got admirals breathing down my neck. Tell me we have something worth showing." "See for yourself, Captain," Dr. Kim replied, gesturing toward the containment chamber, where the darkness had coalesced into something more defined. A writhing mass of what appeared to be organic tissue, though it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Tendrils of midnight energy pulsed through its form in hypnotic patterns. "That's it?" Voss asked, his voice tinged with disappointment. 3 years of funding for a piece of cosmic seaweed? Jack sensed it before anyone else. A shift in the creature's movements. A sudden intent behind its undulations. "It heard you," he whispered, taking an involuntary step toward the chamber. Dr. Kim's instruments began blaring warnings simultaneously. "Energy spike! The sample is—" The rest of her words were drowned out as the Void Titan fragment slammed against the containment field. The transparent aluminum cracked, something that should have been physically impossible given its molecular structure. Emergency sirens wailed across the station as the creature struck again, this time sending a spiderweb of fractures across the chamber's surface. "Evacuate the laboratory," Captain Voss commanded, already moving toward the communications panel. "Station-wide alert. This is not a drill." Scientists scrambled toward the exits as the containment field fluctuated wildly. Dr. Kim remained at her console, frantically attempting to stabilize the system. "The field can't hold it. Something about its composition is negating our technology." Jack stood transfixed as the creature continued its assault. Each impact sent tremors through the station structure. Through the fracturing chamber, he could see the Titan fragment more clearly now, its surface rippling with what looked like thousands of microscopic mouths, each opening and closing in silent hunger. "Kim, get out of here!" Voss shouted, physically pulling the scientist away from her station as ceiling panels began to collapse. "No," she protested. "My research, 3 years of work." "Will be worthless if we're all dead," Voss countered, dragging her toward the exit. As they reached the doorway, the captain turned back to Jack. "Turner, move your ass!" But Jack wasn't listening. A strange calm had settled over him as he stared at the creature, a feeling he hadn't experienced since his military days. His body had been modified for this exact scenario. The countless injections, genetic therapies, neural recalibrations, all designed to push human capability beyond its natural limits. "Computer, seal Laboratory Sector 17, Jack commanded. "Authorization Turner Epsilon 741. "Jack, no!" Dr. Kim shouted as the laboratory doors began to close. "You can't contain it alone!" The last thing Jack saw before the doors sealed was the look of horrified realization on Dr. Kim's face. Then, he was alone with the Void Titan. The containment chamber gave way with a final, catastrophic crack. The transparent aluminum shattered, fragments spinning across the laboratory like deadly projectiles. Jack's enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge most, though one sliced across his cheek, drawing a line of crimson. The Void Titan fragment expanded upon release, doubling in size within seconds. It no longer resembled anything recognizable, a churning mass of darkness, with occasional glimpses of structures that defied human comprehension. Limbs that bent at impossible angles, surfaces that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, eyes that opened onto nothingness. "Come on then," Jack whispered, feeling the combat stimulants automatically releasing into his bloodstream from implants beneath his skin. His vision sharpened. Time seemed to slow. "Show me what you're made of." The creature responded as if understanding the challenge. A tendril of void matter lashed out with impossible speed, striking the spot where Jack had stood a millisecond earlier. He rolled across the laboratory floor, coming up beside an analysis station. The metal table tore free easily in his enhanced grip, and he swung it like a shield as another tendril whipped toward his chest. The impact sent him crashing into the laboratory wall, denting the reinforced metal. Pain blossomed across his back, but the neural inhibitors kicked in, dulling the sensation to a manageable throb. Jack pushed himself up, spitting blood onto the sterile floor. Outside the sealed laboratory, alarms continued to wail. Through the reinforced viewport, Jack could see Dr. Kim and Captain Voss watching in horror as the creature advanced on him. Dr. Kim's lips moved frantically as she spoke into a communication device, probably trying to override the lockdown he'd initiated. The Void Titan fragment undulated across the laboratory, absorbing equipment and furniture into its expanding mass. With each consumption, it grew larger, more defined. What had begun as a 4.7 kilogram sample now filled nearly a quarter of the large laboratory space. As it approached the exterior wall, the one separating the lab from the vacuum of space, Jack realized the true danger. "Computer," he gasped, wiping blood from his mouth. "Initiate Protocol Omega, gravitational anchors at maximum." The station's AI responded immediately, activating the emergency systems designed to prevent hull breaches from exposing the station to space. Metallic groans echoed through the laboratory as gravitational anchors deployed from the walls, creating a localized field that would theoretically prevent decompression. Theoretically, the Void Titan paused, as if sensing the change in its environment. Jack used the moment to assess his options. His combat training and enhanced physiology made him stronger and faster than any normal human. But he was facing something that wasn't bound by the laws of physics as humanity understood them. "Analysis," he commanded the computer. "Identify vulnerabilities." "Insufficient data," the AI responded. "Entity composition unknown. Suggested course of action. Evacuate laboratory." Jack laughed, despite himself. "Not an option." He flexed his hands, feeling the reinforced bone structure beneath his skin. Another modification courtesy of Project Titan. His body had been turned into a weapon, though until now, he'd never had cause to test its limits. The creature surged forward suddenly, moving with liquid grace across the laboratory floor. Jack dove aside, but not quickly enough. A tendril wrapped around his ankle, burning cold through the specialized suit. The sensation was like nothing he'd experienced, not merely pain, but a fundamental wrongness, as if the cells of his body rejected the very touch of the void matter. Jack roared, more in rage than pain, and brought his fist down on the tendril. The impact should have shattered normal matter, but the creature's form simply rippled, absorbing the blow. The tendril tightened, dragging him closer to the main mass. Memories of Burin flashed through Jack's mind again. The helplessness, the failure. He'd sworn never to feel that way again. Never to be too weak to protect those who needed him. "Not today," he growled, reaching for a fallen piece of laboratory equipment. The laser cutter hummed to life in his grip, its blade designed for molecular-level precision. With a desperate swing, he brought it down on the tendril holding him. The Void Titan shrieked, a sound that existed somehow beyond audible range, yet penetrated Jack's skull like physical pain. The tendril released him as the creature recoiled. Black ichor splattered across the laboratory floor, eating through the metal like acid. Jack staggered to his feet. The laser cutter clutched in his hand. "Found your weakness," he panted, advancing on the creature. But his victory was short-lived. The severed tendril dissolved into mist, then flowed back into the main mass of the Titan. Within seconds, it had regenerated completely. Worse, the black ichor continued to eat through the laboratory floor, creating a widening hole that threatened to breach the outer hull. "Computer, seal floor breach. Authorization Turner Epsilon 741. Emergency polymer foam sprayed from concealed nozzles, covering the corroded area. The ichor hissed as it came in contact with the foam, but the spreading damage slowed, then stopped. The Void Titan seemed to assess the situation, its formless mass rippling with unseen calculations. Then, with horrifying intelligence, it moved toward the laboratory's environmental controls. "No!" Jack lunged forward, knowing exactly what would happen if the creature disrupted the life support systems. The entire section would automatically seal off to protect the rest of the station, trapping him inside as oxygen levels plummeted. He tackled the undulating mass, his enhanced strength allowing him to physically grapple with the creature. The sensation was indescribable, like plunging his hands into liquid nitrogen while simultaneously feeling his skin burn. Every instinct screamed at him to release the thing, but Jack held firm, pulling the creature away from the critical systems. The Void Titan reacted violently, its form expanding and contracting in rapid pulses. Tendrils whipped around Jack's body, slicing through his protective suit and into the flesh beneath. Blood mingled with void matter, creating a horrific fusion that steamed upon contact. Through the viewport, Jack could see Dr. Kim frantically working at an external console, likely trying to assist him remotely. Captain Voss stood beside her, his expression grim as he coordinated the station's emergency response. More personnel had gathered, security officers with weapons that would be useless against this enemy, medical staff preparing for casualties. Jack felt his consciousness beginning to fade as the creature's cold embrace sapped his strength. The enhancements could only push his body so far. His vision darkened around the edges, the laboratory light seeming impossibly distant. "Project Titan," he whispered, the words bringing him a strange clarity. That's what they'd called him, the human weapon designed to face the unknown. Not just the experiment, but the counterforce. The Titan against the Void. Something shifted within him, a barrier breaking down between conscious control and the full potential of his enhanced body. Jack had always held back, afraid of what he might become if he embraced the changes they'd made to him, afraid he would lose the last shreds of his humanity. But now, faced with annihilation, those fears seemed irrelevant. Jack closed his eyes, surrendering to the modifications that had been written into his DNA. Heat surged through his veins as dormant systems activated, flooding his body with compounds designed to push human performance beyond all natural limitations. His muscles densified, skin hardened, neural pathways reconfigured to process information at unprecedented speeds. His eyes snapped open, now glowing with an internal light that reflected the energy coursing through him. With a roar that came from somewhere primal and barely human, Jack tore free from the Void Titan's grasp. His movements became a blur as he attacked the creature with renewed strength, each blow carrying enough force to shatter steel. The creature recoiled, its form rippling with what might have been surprise if such an alien entity could experience such an emotion. Jack pressed his advantage, driving the creature back toward the containment area. His hands, now emanating a faint blue energy from the activated nanotechnology in his bloodstream, tore into the void matter with surprising effectiveness. Each contact point sizzled and steamed as opposing forces clashed at the molecular level. The Void Titan fought back ferociously, tendrils slashing from multiple directions simultaneously. One pierced Jack's shoulder, another grazed his thigh, but he barely registered the pain. His body was operating beyond normal human parameters now, damage being repaired almost as quickly as it was inflicted. From the corner of his eye, Jack noticed Dr. Kim had managed to partially override the laboratory lockdown. A secondary containment field was forming around the original chamber, not strong enough to hold the creature indefinitely, but perhaps enough to give him an advantage. Understanding the plan without need for communication, Jack maneuvered himself and the creature toward the forming containment field. The Void Titan sensed the trap and redoubled its efforts to break free, its mass contorting in ways that defied comprehension. The laboratory shuddered as the creature released a pulse of negative energy. Equipment shattered, viewports cracked, and the gravity plating flickered momentarily. Jack was thrown backward, crashing into a bank of computers that exploded in a shower of sparks upon impact. He pushed himself up from the wreckage, his enhanced vision allowing him to see through the smoke and debris. The creature had expanded again, now filling nearly half the laboratory. Its form had become more defined, something almost insectoid, but with elements that seemed mammalian and even plant-like, as if it were cycling through evolutionary possibilities. "Computer," Jack gasped, blood trickling from his mouth. "Activate emergency plasma vents. Authorization Turner Epsilon 741. "Warning," the AI responded. "Emergency plasma venting will result in temperatures exceeding 10,000 Kelvin. Human survival impossible." "Override safety protocols," Jack commanded, staggering toward the creature. "On my mark." The void. Titan sensed his approach and surged forward to meet him. Jack threw himself into the mass of the creature, his enhanced strength allowing him to physically grapple with the enormous entity. Cold, beyond imagining, engulfed him as he pushed deeper into the alien flesh, his modified cells fighting to maintain integrity against the void matter's attempts to absorb him. Through the pain and disorientation, Jack focused on a single goal: reaching the core of the entity. Every Starfleet officer knew the theoretical weaknesses of extra-dimensional beings. Disrupt the central mass, and the rest would lose cohesion. The creature fought his intrusion, its interior shifting to create barriers of dense void matter. Jack pushed through them, his enhanced muscles straining against resistances that would have pulverized ordinary human bones. Blood vessels burst beneath his skin from the effort, creating a network of dark lines across his exposed flesh. Outside the laboratory, Dr. Kim watched in horror as Jack disappeared into the creature's mass. Her instruments showed his vital signs fluctuating wildly, heart rate spiking to impossible levels, body temperature dropping then surging as his enhancements fought to keep him alive. "He can't survive in there," Captain Voss said grimly. "We need to seal this section and jettison it before that thing breaks through to the rest of the station." "No," Dr. Kim replied, her fingers flying across the control panel. "He's still alive. The enhancements are working exactly as designed." "At what cost?" Voss demanded. "Look at him, Kim. That's not a man anymore. It's a weapon we've created. And weapons have a tendency to destroy everything around them." Inside the creature, Jack had lost all sense of direction and time. The void matter pressed in from all sides, a cold so absolute it burned. His consciousness flickered as systems throughout his body began to fail, despite the enhancements. Then, through the disorientation, he felt it, a pulsing core of denser material at the center of the entity, the heart of the Void Titan. With his remaining strength, Jack forced his hands into the core, feeling resistance like nothing he'd experienced before. It was like trying to tear apart a neutron star with his bare hands. But he persisted, channeling every ounce of enhanced strength into this final effort. "Computer," he gasped, though he wasn't sure if the AI could even hear him from within the creature. "Initiate plasma venting. Now." For a moment, nothing happened. Then ports around the laboratory slid open, releasing superheated plasma into the enclosed space. The temperature in the room skyrocketed instantly, turning the air itself into an inferno. The Void Titan's outer layers began to sizzle and contract as the extreme heat counteracted its cold-based structure. Jack felt the creature's grip on him weakening as the plasma did its work. With a final, desperate surge of strength, he tore at the core with both hands, ripping it apart with a sound like the universe itself tearing. The Void Titan convulsed, its form losing cohesion as the central mass split. Jack was ejected from the creature as it thrashed in its death throes, his body flying across the laboratory to crash against the far wall. The impact would have killed an ordinary human instantly, but his reinforced skeleton absorbed much of the force. The creature continued to disintegrate, void matter evaporating in the extreme heat of the plasma. Its death cry resonated at frequencies that shattered the remaining intact equipment in the laboratory and sent cracks racing across the reinforced viewports. As the last of the Void Titan dissolved into nothingness, the emergency systems automatically vented the superheated plasma into space. The sudden temperature change caused metal throughout the laboratory to contract violently, creating a cacophony of groans and pings. Jack lay motionless against the wall, his body a testament to the violence he'd endured. His specialized suit hung in tatters, revealing skin mottled with bruises and lacerations. Blood, mixed with an oily black substance, residue from the void matter, covered his arms up to the elbows. The laboratory doors slid open as the emergency lockdown lifted. Medical personnel rushed in wearing environmental suits, followed closely by Dr. Kim and Captain Voss. "Get him to medical immediately," Dr. Kim ordered, kneeling beside Jack's broken form. Medical scanners hummed as they assessed his injuries. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, extreme hypothermia despite the plasma exposure. "Will he survive?" Voss asked, surveying the devastation of the laboratory with a grim expression. "The enhancements are already repairing the worst damage," Dr. Kim replied, her voice clinical, though her hands trembled slightly as she administered emergency medications. "His cellular regeneration is operating at 400% normal human capacity." Jack's eyes fluttered open briefly, focusing on Dr. Kim's face. "Did I get it?" he whispered, blood bubbling at the corner of his mouth. "Yes," she answered, her professional demeanor softening momentarily. "You contained the threat." A ghost of a smile crossed Jack's lips before unconsciousness claimed him again. Medical personnel transferred him to a hovering stretcher and rushed him from the destroyed laboratory. Captain Voss stepped to the viewport, staring out at the micro-black hole that had delivered this terror to their doorstep. "Seal off this sector," he commanded. "No one enters without my direct authorization." Dr. Kim joined him at the viewport, her reflection pale against the darkness of space. "The Admiral will want a full report." "And what exactly should I tell him?" Voss asked, his voice bitter. "That we nearly lost an entire research station? That the controlled sample we assured him was safe nearly consumed us all?" "Tell him Project Titan was a success," Dr. Kim replied quietly. "The enhancements worked." Voss turned to her, his expression hard. "At what cost, Doctor? Look around you. Look at what Turner has become. Is this what Starfleet stands for now? Turning our own people into weapons?" Dr. Kim had no answer. Together, they watched as maintenance drones began the process of repairing the damaged laboratory, their mechanical efficiency a stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded minutes before. In the medical bay, Jack floated in a regeneration tank, his body suspended in a nutrient-rich solution designed to accelerate healing. Monitoring equipment displayed his vital signs, far from normal, but stabilizing. Beside the tank, Lieutenant Sora Patel stood watch, her young face solemn as she observed the man who had saved the station. "How is he?" Dr. Kim asked, as she entered the medical bay several hours later. "Physically improving," Patel replied, not taking her eyes off Jack's suspended form. "But brain activity is concerning. The patterns don't match his baseline." Dr. Kim reviewed the neural scans, her brow furrowing. The contact with the void matter may have affected his cognitive functions, or it could be a side effect of pushing the enhancements beyond tested parameters. "Will he recover? Mentally, I mean..." "Unknown," Dr. Kim admitted. "We've never seen anything like this before." "Was it worth it?" Patel asked quietly, finally turning to face the scientist. "All of this, the enhancements, the experiments, turning him into whatever he is now." Dr. Kim didn't immediately answer. She placed her hand against the transparent surface of the regeneration tank, watching as Jack's chest rose and fell with artificial respiration. "That's not a scientific question, Lieutenant." No, Patel agreed. It's a human one. The conversation was interrupted as the medical bay doors slid open to admit Admiral Harris, the highest-ranking Starfleet officer within 3 sectors. His uniform bore the insignia of Starfleet intelligence, and his weathered face revealed nothing of his thoughts as he surveyed the medical bay. "Admiral," Dr. Kim acknowledged, straightening to attention. "We weren't expecting you." "Clearly," Harris replied, his gaze fixed on Jack's floating form. "I was in the Denobula system when I received Voss's preliminary report. Thought this warranted a personal assessment." "Sir, we're still conducting—" "Save it, Doctor," Harris interrupted, circling the regeneration tank with measured steps. "I've read your reports for the past 2 years. Project Titan, human enhancement beyond established ethical boundaries, preparation for contact with transdimensional entities." He paused, looking directly at Dr. Kim. "You've exceeded your mandate. With respect, Admiral, we followed the protocols established by Starfleet Command. The enhancements saved this station and possibly—" "Don't mistake my concern for disapproval, Doctor," Harris said, his voice softening slightly. "What you've accomplished here is remarkable, turning an ordinary man into something capable of facing the void." He placed a hand on the tank, much as Dr. Kim had done moments before. "The question now is, what have we created?" In the days that followed, Jack's physical recovery progressed with astonishing speed. The enhancements that had allowed him to survive combat with the Void Titan now accelerated his healing beyond anything medical science had documented. Bones knitted, tissues regenerated, organs repaired themselves with efficiency that bordered on the miraculous. But his consciousness remained elusive. Though vital signs indicated normal brain activity, Jack did not wake. He floated in the regeneration tank, occasionally twitching or mumbling incomprehensible phrases, but never fully regaining awareness. Dr. Kim spent hours beside the tank, monitoring his progress and adjusting treatment protocols. Sometimes she spoke to him, describing the repairs to the station or the continued analysis of the void matter residue found in the laboratory. Whether he could hear her was unknown. A week after the incident, Captain Voss called a meeting of the senior staff to discuss the future of Aurora 7 and Project Titan. The conference room overlooked the micro-black hole, its swirling darkness a constant reminder of what lurked beyond. "Starfleet Command has reviewed our findings," Voss announced to the assembled officers and scientists. "They've ordered Aurora 7 to maintain position, but have suspended all further experimentation with void matter." "That's absurd," objected Dr. Reeves, one of the senior researchers. "We've barely scratched the surface of understanding this phenomenon. The data we collected during the incident alone could revolutionize our understanding of transdimensional physics." "At what cost?" Lieutenant Patel countered. "We nearly lost the station. We nearly lost Turner." "Speaking of Commander Turner," Voss continued, "his condition has raised significant ethical questions about the continuation of Project Titan. Dr. Kim, your report." Dr. Kim activated a holographic display showing Jack's medical scans. "Commander Turner's physical recovery is proceeding beyond our most optimistic projections. The enhancements have adapted to the damage sustained during the incident, improving their efficiency by approximately 37%. "Meaning what, exactly?" Admiral Harris asked from his position at the far end of the conference table. "Meaning he's becoming more than we designed him to be," Dr. Kim replied carefully. "The enhancements were programmed to respond to threats and adapt accordingly. The encounter with the Void Titan provided data that's triggering evolutionary developments in the enhancement systems." "In English, Doctor," Voss prompted. "He's still changing," she said simply. "And we don't know where those changes will lead." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Project Titan had been controversial from its inception, pushing the boundaries of human enhancement beyond what many considered ethical. Now, they faced the possibility that their creation had moved beyond their control. What are our options? Harris finally asked. We can attempt to suppress the enhancements using targeted electromagnetic pulses, Dr. Kim suggested. Essentially reset them to their baseline configuration. But doing so might compromise the adaptations, keeping him alive. And if we do nothing? Voss asked. We wait. We observe. We learn. Dr. Kim met the captain's gaze steadily. Isn't that what we're here for? Before anyone could respond, the conference room door slid open to admit a medical technician, his expression urgent. Dr. Kim, he's awake. The regeneration tank had been drained. Its transparent walls retracted to allow access to the medical bed at its center. Jack sat upright, disconnected from most of the monitoring equipment. His physical appearance had changed subtly, his muscle definition more pronounced, his posture unnaturally perfect, his skin bearing faint blue lines where the worst injuries had been. Dr. Kim approached cautiously, medical scanner in hand. Commander Turner, how are you feeling? Jack's eyes tracked to her, pupils contracting with mechanical precision. When he spoke, his voice was rougher than before, as if his vocal cords had been restructured. Different, he answered simply. Can you be more specific? Dr. Kim prompted, scanning him with professional detachment, though her pulse had quickened. Jack flexed his hands, watching as the muscles and tendons moved beneath the skin. Stronger, clearer, he paused, searching for words. I can feel the enhancements now. Before, they were separate, tools I could use. Now they're integrated. Integrated how? Admiral Harris asked, stepping forward from where the senior staff had gathered at the medical bay entrance. Jack's gaze shifted to the Admiral, his expression unreadable. I understand them now. The purpose behind each modification. The potential. And the Void Titan? Dr. Kim asked. Do you remember what happened? A shadow crossed Jack's face. Yes. I remember everything. His hand moved unconsciously to his chest, where the void matter had made contact with his skin. A faint discoloration remained, a patch of skin several shades darker than the surrounding tissue. It was aware, not just reacting to stimuli. It recognized us as threats, as competitors. Competitors for what? Voss demanded. Space, Jack replied simply. Existence. It came from a realm where our physical laws don't apply. Our reality is desirable to it. Dr. Kim exchanged glances with Harris. This confirmed their worst fears about the nature of the void and its inhabitants. Not just another life form, but a potential invader. The sample we contained, Dr. Kim began carefully. Was it an isolated organism, or a fragment? Jack answered. A scout. There are larger entities in the void, much larger. His eyes drifted to the viewport, toward the distant black hole. They're watching, waiting. The implications hung heavy in the air. If what Jack said was true, the encounter had been merely a prelude to a much greater threat. Commander, Harris said, stepping closer to the bed. What you did saved this station and potentially much more. Starfleet owes you a debt of gratitude. Jack's expression remained neutral. I did what I was designed to do. And how do you feel about that? Dr. Kim asked, her scientific curiosity momentarily overshadowed by genuine concern. Jack was silent for a long moment, his enhanced mind processing the question on multiple levels. I don't know, he finally admitted. I'm not the same person I was before. The lines between Jack Turner and Project Titan have blurred. The enhancements were never meant to alter your identity, Dr. Kim assured him, though uncertainty tinged her voice. Just your capabilities. But they have, Jack replied. You can't change what a person can do without changing who they are. He looked down at his hands again, remembering how they had torn apart the Void Titan. What does it mean to be human when you're capable of inhuman things? No one had an answer for him. In the days that followed, Jack underwent extensive testing to assess the changes to his enhanced systems. Physical examinations revealed improvements across all parameters. Strength increased by 43%, neural processing speed by 68%, cellular regeneration by over 200%. His body had become a more perfect version of the weapon Starfleet had designed. But psychological evaluations raised concerns. Jack's emotional responses had flattened, his decision-making becoming more calculating and utilitarian. The trauma of the encounter with the Void Titan had accelerated certain aspects of the enhancements while suppressing others, specifically those tied to empathy and social connection. "He's becoming more efficient," Dr. Kim explained during a private meeting with Admiral Harris. "The enhancements are prioritizing survival and combat effectiveness over emotional well-being." "Is he dangerous?" Harris asked bluntly. Dr. Kim considered the question carefully. "Not inherently. But his definition of necessary force or acceptable risk has shifted. He would sacrifice himself without hesitation for the mission, and he might make the same decision for others under his command." "Sounds like the perfect soldier," Harris observed. "Is that what we wanted to create?" Dr. Kim challenged. "Because if so, we've succeeded beyond our expectations." Harris moved to the viewport, gazing out at the stars. "What we wanted and what we needed might be two different things. Doctor, if Commander Turner is correct about the void entities, we may need precisely what he's becoming. At the cost of his humanity? Perhaps the question isn't whether he's still human," Harris suggested, "but whether he's what humanity needs to become to survive what's coming." The Admiral's words haunted Dr. Kim as she continued to work with Jack in the weeks that followed. Project Titan had been placed under direct Starfleet intelligence oversight, with Admiral Harris taking personal responsibility for Jack's deployment and development. Aurora 7 maintained its position near the micro-black hole, now reinforced with additional security measures and research capabilities. The study of void matter continued under the strictest protocols, with findings shared only among a select group of scientists with the highest security clearance. Jack's recovery had progressed to the point where he had resumed limited duties, primarily focused on training and preparation for potential future encounters with void entities. He spent hours in the combat simulation chamber, his enhanced reflexes and strength allowing him to defeat scenarios designed to be impossible. One evening, Dr. Kim found him in the observation lounge, staring out at the black hole that had become the focus of their existence. The swirling darkness reflected in his eyes, which now contained faint traces of the same blue energy that sometimes manifested beneath his skin during periods of exertion. "May I join you?" she asked, remaining at a respectful distance. Jack nodded without turning. "Your heart rate increases 8.7% when you approach me now," he observed. "You're afraid." Dr. Kim didn't deny it. "You've changed in ways we didn't anticipate." "In ways you can't control," Jack corrected. "That's what truly frightens you." She moved to stand beside him at the viewport. "Is that what you want? To frighten people?" "What I want," Jack began, then paused, considering. "I'm not sure I want things the way I used to. Desires seem inefficient now. There are objectives, threats, solutions." He turned to face her. "The void is still out there. What came through was just the beginning. And you believe you're our best defense." "I know I am," he replied without arrogance, simply stating what his enhanced mind had calculated as fact. "The question is whether Starfleet will accept what that means." "Which is?" "That humanity can't face what's coming without becoming something more than human." Jack's gaze returned to the black hole. "The Void Titans evolved in an environment of absolute hostility. We evolved for cooperation and community. Those are strengths in some contexts, weaknesses in others." Dr. Kim felt a chill at his words. "And you're suggesting we should abandon those traits?" "I'm suggesting we should transcend them," Jack clarified. "Keep what makes us human, but become something greater. Project Titan was just the first step. You're talking about transforming our entire species, Dr. Kim said, horrified yet fascinated by the concept. I'm talking about survival, Jack replied simply. The void is patient. Doctor, it has existed for billions of years. It can wait. But it wants what we have. Reality conforming to comprehensible physical laws. And it will come for it. Their conversation was interrupted by the station's alert system. Senior staff to the command center. Captain Voss's voice announced over the communication system. Priority Alpha. In the command center, holographic displays showed sensor readings from the micro-black hole. Energy fluctuations had increased dramatically over the past hour, suggesting activity within the void beyond. It started approximately 47 minutes ago, the science officer explained, manipulating the display to show the progression. The energy signature matches what we recorded during the Void Titan incident, but at a magnitude roughly 1,000 times greater. Jack studied the readings, his enhanced mind processing the implications faster than anyone else present. They're coming, he said quietly. All eyes turned to him. The scout we encountered, Jack continued. It was testing our defenses, our capabilities, and when I destroyed it, I sent a message back through the void that we're a threat worth eliminating. You're saying we provoked them, Voss demanded, his face pale. I'm saying we revealed ourselves, Jack corrected. They would have found us eventually. Now they know what to expect. Admiral Harris stepped forward. Recommendations? Jack turned to Dr. Kim. Project Titan needs to expand. Immediately. One enhanced human won't be sufficient against what's coming. You're talking about creating more like you, Dr. Kim said, her scientific ambition warring with ethical concerns. The procedure nearly killed you multiple times. The psychological effects alone can be mitigated based on what we've learned, Jack interrupted. And we don't have time for ethical debates. The void doesn't care about our moral qualms. Harris nodded grimly. I'll contact Starfleet Command. In the meantime, we prepare for the worst. He turned to Voss. Captain, initiate evacuation protocols for all non-essential personnel. Sir? Voss questioned, clearly shocked by the order. Aurora 7 just became the front line in a war most of the Federation doesn't even know is coming. Harris explained. I want everyone who doesn't need to be here on the next transport out. As the command crew scrambled to execute the Admiral's orders, Jack remained at the sensor display, watching the energy fluctuations with an expression that might have been anticipation on a fully human face. Dr. Kim approached him cautiously. You knew this would happen. I calculated the probability at 87.3%, Jack admitted. The encounter changed me, Doctor, but it also changed them. They've never encountered resistance like me before. It makes them curious. And that's why you want to create more enhanced humans, she realized. You're preparing for an invasion. Jack's eyes, with their faint blue glow, met hers. I'm preparing for the next stage of human evolution, because it's either adapt or perish. He gestured toward the readings. They're coming through that hole in reality. The only question is whether we'll be ready when they do. Dr. Kim looked from Jack to the swirling darkness of the micro-black hole visible through the command center viewport. The gateway to the void pulsed with increased energy, as if responding to their conversation. As a scientist, she had dedicated her life to expanding human knowledge and capability. Now she faced the ultimate test of that dedication. How much time do we have? She asked. Based on current progression, approximately 3 weeks, Jack replied. But we should assume less. The void doesn't play by our rules. Doctor, it never has. Dr. Kim made her decision. I'll need a dedicated team, unrestricted access to resources, and volunteers willing to undergo the enhancement process. You'll have whatever you need, Admiral Harris assured her, having overheard their conversation. Starfleet protects the Federation by any means necessary. If that means creating more soldiers like Commander Turner, so be it. Jack's expression remained impassive, but something flickered behind his enhanced eyes. Perhaps satisfaction, perhaps resignation. "The void is coming," he said simply, "and humanity will never be the same." As Aurora 7 prepared for the coming storm, the micro-black hole continued its silent vigil, a tear in reality through which something ancient and hungry watched with growing interest. The battle for existence had begun, and at its center stood Jack Turner, no longer fully human, not quite something else, but perhaps humanity's only hope against the encroaching void. In the station's secure laboratory, Dr. Kim began preparations for the next phase of Project Titan, her hands steady despite the weight of responsibility she carried. The data from Jack's enhancements scrolled across multiple screens, the blueprint for a new kind of human. "Computer," she commanded, "begin new project file. Classification, Omega clearance." She paused, considering the implications of what she was about to set in motion. Project designation, Prometheus. Behind her, through the reinforced viewport, the micro-black hole pulsed with dark energy, a harbinger of the void that waited beyond. And in the reflection on the transparent aluminum, Dr. Kim could see her own face, superimposed over that cosmic darkness, her expression resolute yet haunted by the knowledge that, in saving humanity, she might be changing it forever. The void was coming, and humanity would rise to meet it, evolved, enhanced, transformed, for better or worse. The line between human and weapon had blurred, and there would be no going back.